Hello, welcome back to Figurama, and I just want to say that I love the Christopher Nolan Batman Dark Knight trilogy. I think this trilogy, this trifecta of Batman, are probably my favorite Batman movies of all time. After the original Batman, the 1989 Batman with Michael Keaton, that one is obviously an all-time classic. But I do love Christopher Nolan's movies as a whole. Like every one of his movies I think I've loved, from, Inception to Tenet. Yes, I liked Tenet. Some people didn't, and it doesn't make sense a lot of the time, but it's a brilliantly made movie. I think Christopher Nolan is a real visionary in this day and age at doing something a little different, something a little original. And the Batman movies were no different. They featured amazing performances by amazing actors and actresses, like obviously Heath Ledger as the Joker in The Dark Knight, to even Tom Hardy's weird talking Bane in the third movie. Even Alfred and Commissioner Gordon in these movies are my favorite Alfred and Commissioner Gordon of all time. So hopefully they get figures someday. Maybe, cross our fingers. There's definitely been figures from this trilogy before, these McFarlane ones that just came out. But most of them have been expensive imports that I don't really collect at this time. So, $22 McFarlane figures are right up my alley. So I got super excited when these figures were announced. And I got them as soon as I could. Thank you, Big Bad Toy Store. So today, in the Figurama way, I would like to open them up and compare them to the movie counterparts and talk about them with you, my adoring fans, all two of you. So come, journey with me back into the Dark Knight trilogy and look at our plastic together. Right, like I said in the intro, one of my favorite movie trilogies of all time. And I haven't done a lot of McFarlane unboxings on the channel because I am a McFarlane fan. From way back in the day, I collected Spawn figures like way back in the day when they originally came out. I was obsessed with Spawn growing up, and the figures when they initially came out they were mind-bogglingly amazing. But remember, back in the day, they were essentially statues, right? They were super detailed and the paint jobs were amazing, but they were statues, right? So fast forward to modern McFarlane figures is they do a lot more articulation and stuff in the figures. That's just the way the action figure world has settled down. So when McFarlane got into the DC Multiverse stuff, I actually do have a lot of it, but it's opened already. So obviously I'm not going to do an unboxing of a figure I already unboxed. It doesn't make sense. That's why I haven't done a lot of McFarlane stuff, because a lot of the McFarlane stuff nowadays, it's super deep dives. It's like different characters from different points in their history by different artists and stuff like that. And there hasn't been much that I really personally attach to and really want. However, this series is clearly something that I'm attached to, clearly something that I've been wanting for such a long time. Now, other companies have made these figures before, but they're typically expensive imports or they're not very good. So I was super hyped when McFarlane announced these, showed them off, and they have been released already, obviously. And thanks, Big Bad Toy Store, for shipping these out to me as fast as possible for only $4. Not sponsored. So let's open them up, take a look at them. If you're on the fence about them, let's check them out today. And then you can decide if you want to spend your hard-earned money on these. I'm sort of going to treat these like a NECA, movie figure unboxing, meaning I'm not going to go over all the articulation because they're not meant to be superposable like superhero action figures. They're meant to look like the movie. So we're going to look at it from that sort of angle. However, I know the big complaint about McFarlane nowadays, my complaint too, is a lot of the articulation schemes are super wonky and the proportions all out of proportions for certain figures. Like there's weird random stuff going on with McFarlane nowadays. So we'll see if it's the case with these figures too. All right, there's not much going on with the Multiverse boxes and any reason to check them out really. But obviously, it's, windowed McFarlane box with the background. It's got the card inside. Obviously the figure, the accessories, you can see everything. Bane's legs right there. This is, collect and build Bane 1 of 4. And flipping around to the back, you actually have a picture of Bane here, not a picture of Batman. That's kind of weird. And then, the collector parts. You can see, which figures you need to get them all. But this wave is only 4 figures. You need all 4. So it's got a little, collect them all down below so you can see what each of them are. And I like how it's not just a picture of the figure. It's sort of like, it's almost like a poster of each one. Figure number 2 in the wave is obviously the Joker, the Heath Ledger Joker. Probably my favorite Joker of all time. Like, what can you say about it other than that? Like, if you've seen the movie, it's such an interesting take on the Joker, and, you know, it just goes to, obviously, what happened to him after the movie came out. You know, what, like, such an intense performance as the Joker. And it's so sad that he's not around anymore to actually see, you know, the fan reaction to it and how it's carried on after all these years. People still love this Joker. It was that much of a transcendent sort of experience. And so obviously we'll take a look at the figure when it comes out. He has the big accessory piece, and this is what a lot of people are talking about that they want. This big pile of money comes with Bane's head and a lot of different hands. He's got a lot of different hands. All right, number 3 in the wave, Two-Face, another transcendent character. It's probably one of the best versions of Two-Face, obviously, I've ever seen. Just the acting of his part and the realism behind the motivation and everything behind him was definitely a notch up from what I'm used to with Two-Face. Two-Face is always one of those slightly like comic-y, like goofy villains. And the Dark Knight trilogy did him so well where it actually made sense in a real world setting. So I'm super happy to be getting this figure. And he obviously comes with Bane's body right here, body and his signature vest. And the 4th figure in the wave is Scarecrow, obviously. So Scarecrow was another one of those characters that was definitely done a little bit different than the comic books, but again, in the movie, it was so unique. And the performance was so good. I definitely absolutely love the character. And Cillian Murphy, the actor, is just a absolutely phenomenal actor. Phenomenal. I loved him in Sunshine. See Sunshine if you haven't. But getting back to the figure, this is the one I'm most worried about. And I can see most of it through the package already, so I know my fears are warranted. But, you know, for everything, every good thing McFarlane Toys does, like the sculpts and, you know, when they don't skimp on the paintwork nowadays, they're like top of the industry. But where they really lack behind is I think the sculpting on their cloth, meaning when they're not using real cloth, when it's like plastic cloth sculpted, it does not look very good. Like Hush is a prime example. The Hush figure is terrible because the sculpt on his cape is so bad. So I was really worried about this. Toy Farce on Instagram made a great joke about it, because when you get him out and put his arms up, he looks like one of those wacky inflatable arm mans. But I don't know. We'll see what he looks like when he comes out. All right, as I like to say, it's time to free them from their plastic prison. All right, so first things first is costume. Let's talk costume, because it's a little bit ambiguous where the characters are from, because this 4-figure series just says Dark Knight Trilogy. So which costume is this? Well, this is his Dark Knight costume. So the Dark Knight, the middle movie, this is his bat suit from that movie. Because I looked at Batman Begins first, because I assumed that maybe he would, you know, do the Batman Begins costume because it was the first movie. But this is definitely his Dark Knight one. And I really must say that the sculpt is very, very good. It's very, very close to the shots of the movie that I've seen, for sure. Especially on the chest plate, right? The chest plate in the abs right there, they're super detailed. The sculpt work in there, like McFarlane knocks it out of the park sometimes with the sculpt work, just like they do back in the day. In addition to the sculpt work on the chest, that's super impressive. I really like the sculpt work on the head too. Like, to me, that's definitely Christian Bale from the movies, for sure. They got the overall shape right to his, you know, head. And even the neck design, the carving details on the neck are exactly like the costume that I've seen in the shots and everything. It looks super, 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 super good, the sculpt. And I love this costume design. This is probably one of my favorite Batman costume designs. I know a lot of them look similar, because how much variation can you get? But I'm a big fan of this design and Batman's Reborn design, which McFarlane has a new figure for his Reborn design by Greg Capullo. Oh man, they're so good. Those are my favorite Batmans. So in addition to the sculpt work, obviously, it's got, you know, some paint details on it. It's got that two-tone thing going on, so a darker black and a lighter, you know, gunmetal sort of color, going all down everything to his gold belt. And this gold belt is not a separate piece. It's actually attached to this crotch piece. He's got this crotch piece right here, which I don't know. I don't know if I've seen this on a McFarlane figure before. It's soft plastic, so it hides, you know, the leg joints up top, and it looks pretty good. It doesn't look very diaper-ish. A lot of the times when companies do this, it looks like they're wearing a big diaper. It does not look very diapery. Batman doesn't need Depends quite yet. It is. His torso keeps getting out of a line, though. All right, it's a little bit straight now. But anyways, I really like the gold on the belt and everything. It's the figure keeps wanting to turn off center though by itself. I don't know what's up with that. It's one of those weird McFarlane things, I guess. But going down to the legs, it's got, nice sculpt work in the legs. It does have a texture on the, the underside black. It's got a nice texture to it, which again is what one of the things McFarlane Toys does excel at most times. Double elbows, double knees. Does have the weird wrist articulation that I'm not a big fan of. A lot of the times this little ball down here actually makes the figure's arms too long, and that's what I'm talking about proportion wise. On a lot of McFarlane figures, the proportions are just so out of whack. This one looks pretty good. Like, the arms are a little long, and that's because those joints, I'm telling you. So like, this arm looks a little long compared to, photographs of Christian Bale and everything. That legs look a little short. The proportions are not 100%. However, the figure looks fantastic. So I'm not necessarily completely, dissing the figure because the proportions are a little bit off. I really like the sculpt work. I really like the paint work. I love this belt. I love the costume. I love the Christian Bale likeness. I really did love the new Robert Pattinson Batman movie, The Batman. But the Dark Knight Trilogy is definitely my favorite, Batman movies of all time. The third one was a little weak, and I'm not a huge fan of Batman Begins. I thought it was pretty good, but not the best ever. Obviously, The Dark Knight was just one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, which this is from. So I absolutely adore this figure. I love all the details. It looks just like Christian Bale. I'm super happy with this. Flip it over, and you got the cape that I'm talking about, right? Like, if someone makes a cloth cape with wires for me for this, then please leave it in the comments below. I'll pay whatever amount of money you need. Because again, it's just, the flat, semi-rubbery cape, that McFarlane does. And it doesn't look terrible because it's going straight down. It's in a very neutral position. A lot of the times the capes are, they like sculpt the capes to like do this or something like that. You know what I mean? And those are the capes that are like the absolute worst because you can't pose your figure however you want. At least this is in a neutral position and it's so soft. Maybe it won't be so much of an issue with this. I don't know. But I definitely love the figure. Let's take a look at the accessories. I still wish that McFarlane would do alternate heads and alternate hands in packages because he does have a fist hand on his right hand here and an open hand here. Well, he comes with 4 accessories to hold in his hand, but he's only got 1 open hand, right? So again, design choices. Some of the design choices at McFarlane, not a huge fan of. All right, comes with a nice gold grapple gun. So this is straight from the movie, I would assume. I don't think it was gold in the movie, maybe. But, it's Batman's trusty grapple gun. It looks great. Sculpting details, no paint work though. Sort of like G.I. Joe Classifieds, nothing going on paint-wise. But sculpt work looks pretty good. And I like the color, it matches the belt. Right, and then it comes with 3 gold batarangs, which look fantastic. I love them. The shape of them, they look great. But there's nowhere to put them on the body. He's only got 1 hand, so if he's holding the grapple, these are going on the floor, I guess. So I don't know why you include 4 accessories if you can't hook onto his belt or something like that, but And he also comes with Bane's legs. So Bane's big old legs right here, the Build-a-Legs. And it's still got that wonky, articulation here. There's just like a giant pin right there. It looks so weird. Like the way they do the ankle articulation too, I don't know. It's weird. The articulation scheme at McFarlane, I don't know what's going on with it. All right, up next, your boy, the Joker. All right, oh lordy. This looks pretty good. And it smells. As soon as you open this package, you get bombarded with that new figure smell, the paint smell. Smells like nail polish or something like that. It punches you in the face. So Joker out of the package initially looks very good. It looks a little bit, his head does look a little small for the body. Like he looks a lot more beefy than Heath Ledger did in the movie. Heath Ledger was definitely, more slender than this, but it's actually weird too because it's actually squishy. Like he's all like there's a skinny body underneath, like underlying this, and this is all like soft plastic, like squishy parts. You can like squish him in there. So I don't know, the design choice they did. I think it looks good. He does look just a little bit beefy. It's like the head looks maybe tiny bit small for the body comparison speaking, but I do think the likeness of the head is very good. I don't think it's exactly like the movie, but I do. If you've seen the movie or are a fan of it, a fan of the Heath Ledger Joker, I definitely think you can see that in the face. I do like the wash on the hair. It's got a nice wash on the hair. The makeup's good. It stops at his neck, just like it did in the movie. The only thing that I think can be improved head-wise is I think this red here could have been like faded a little bit more, because in the movie it's not just a straight sort of line across like that, very strong. It's actually, you know, it blends in, it smears a little bit, mixes in with the white makeup and stuff, and it looks that much, you know, creepier. That's all I can say about that. I do like the lightness for sure, and I do like the hair. The hair is actually glued on too. It's a soft piece. You can see that moving around a little bit. And obviously much of his figure is a soft piece. I'm talking about, you know, McFarlane not doing good on sculpting, you know, cloth stuff. This actually looks pretty good. I don't like this bellowing side over here. And that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, you can't close that in because, you know, it's soft plastic, but it's sort of sculpted to be open like that. So you have no choice. And I don't dig that. I do like this gold chain though. So the colors, I love the purple color. It does match the movie. He's got a little bit lighter purple gloves. It's, you know, the double elbows, double knees articulation. The pants, there's something weird going on here. The knee joints, the double knee joint is darker. Like, it's a little darker than the rest of the pants. If you can see that, it looks like he's wearing knee pads. I don't think I'm crazy. Like, I think it is a little bit darker. Obviously, I wish they could have matched that up a little bit better, because it does stand out to me when I look at it. It does stand out. It looks like he's wearing knee pads. But, you know, the articulation, you know, it's pretty good. It's not that bad. I actually like how they did the feet. The feet aren't fully articulated because it's got this cup of the pants that goes around it. And I think that actually looks really good, and it makes sense. You won't get the super articulation on the ankles that, like, you know, the Bane figure did, or even Batman, but you do have the toe. You can poke his toes up. But anyways, I do like this figure quite a lot. I really like the color scheme from the movie. I think they nailed all the colors except for these, you know, knee pads he's wearing. I think the likeness in the face looks pretty good. Not 100%, but it looks pretty good. And I'm gonna love having this in my display for sure. And accessories wise, this is all he comes with, but this is like the showcase right here. Like, the sculpt work on this is pretty darn amazing. Hopefully my camera's focusing. I'm trying a video with autofocus on, okay? Anyways, the sculpt work, all the dollar bills are all sculpted in there. The money thing, it's got a paint job too, so it's got some variation in the paint there. It's got a little wash on it. Oh man, this is so amazing. This is almost worth buying the figure right here. If you want this, like, I'm super impressed by the sculpt work and everything. It's even got, you know, a darker green down there. It's even got a peg right there. So if you want the Joker to stand here instead of the black stands they come with, you can use this as a stand too. So he's standing by the money before he lights it on fire. And then we have one Bane head, that is. So obviously he comes with Bane's head. Sculpt work on it is good. I'll put a picture here of, you know, his head so you can compare the mask. The mask looks to me like it's sculpted just like the movie. It's got nice details, nice lines around the edge. The paintwork, even on the eyes and the wash on the mask, look very, very good. And he also comes with Thing from Wednesday. Just kidding. It's Bane's hands. He comes with a lot of hands. He's got 2 hands in Scarecrow too, I think. So he comes with a total of 8 hands. He can do whatever you need. You scratch your back, pick your nose, whatever you need, he's got it. It's the mad coin flipper himself, Two-Face. Right, Two-Face, Harvey Dent is out of the box, and this is definitely a mixed bag. Like, it looks better than I initially thought, but again, some of the design choices at McFarlane don't make sense. Like, he's got his coin in his hand here. He doesn't come with any accessories at all, I guess is what I'm getting at. Why not just come with an alternate hand with no coin in it? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So, I mean, that's his signature thing, so I get it. He's got his coin to flip ready in his hand. He looks just like the movie, except it's a little, looking at the face, it's a little bit, I don't know what you want to say. It's a little bit more cartoony. It's like it looks very close to the actor that played Harvey Dent, but it's just a little cartoony, if that makes sense. It's like they captured the likeness, but maybe they didn't want to fully capture the license to, you know, not pay him royalties or something like that. I don't know. I'm just talking. But the other side of the head is actually really good sculpt. It does match his face. The sculpt of it does match his face really good in the movie. The paint job is a little different. It had more dark spots in the movie, which you'll see on the screen here. So the paint job is a little bit different, but the sculpt job is so good. I really like the recessed, you know, eye. How it's definitely like, you know, in his eye socket, but if you look straight on it, obviously it looks really good. It looks like it's in the right spot, I guess is what I'm getting at. So I think the sculpt job on the head is phenomenal. They did a really good job with that. And I really like all the textures going down. The coat has got a, you know, leather texture to it. The shirt has a different texture. The pants have a different texture. So the sculpt work on him is very good. And obviously this Two-Face side, obviously he's got, you know, the burn holes and stuff in it, just like it did in the movie. And I honestly think this looks really good just for a guy in a suit, you know? Those figures are always sort of the most boring figures, especially, you know, in Marvel Legends and stuff like that. But I do like the design work on this, and I do like the you know, texture work and everything. Jacket actually doesn't look bad. This is weird texture going on with the shoulder right here. I'm noticing this shoulder is like textured different than the rest of his body. If you know, it's even different than the other shoulder. I hope you could see that. See the texture on that? The texture on that is different. It's so weird. That's so weird. Anyways, you got the typical McFarlane articulation, you know, the pins and everything, but other than the cartooniness of the face a little bit, I definitely dig the figure. It looks like straight from the movie for the most part. There's some texture weirdness going on here. He doesn't have any accessories or anything, but looks pretty cool. Looks like Two-Face from the movie. I love that side of the head right there. And like I said before, it comes with Bane's body. So this is Bane's body. Bane's a little bit bigger of a figure. He's got his, you know, his pants are falling down, his diaper's falling down a little. But, you know, once we hook the legs in there, arms, head, he's going to be good to go. And this is obviously, this is his signature vest from the third movie, right? Because Bane was only in the third movie. So the three figures so far have all been from The Dark Knight, the middle movie. And so Bane will be the first one from the third movie. And last but not least, wacky, inflatable arm man. Right, Scarecrow out of the package. Interesting fact about this is the Scarecrow from the first movie. And actually he only appeared, if I remember right, he only appeared in one scene with this whole sort of costume on. It's when he was riding the horse. When the fear toxin was spreading through the city and he was on the horse, he was wearing this. Because in his first couple appearances, he had sort of like the last movie, he just had this suit on and just the hood. So this whole thing is, I gotta be quite honest, I'm definitely more impressed with this than I thought I would be. And I know I've been ragging on McFarlane this whole video about the, you know, the fake cloth stuff. But honestly, I really like the wash and the sculpt work in this. Like, it looks really good. Like, especially on the back, you can see all the straps and how they, you know, the wash is a little bit darker as it goes down. Like, honestly, I really like the sculpt work of this. And the sleeves don't look as bad as I initially thought. Like, they do sort of. Like, when he's, I don't know, like when he's holding up a fist like this, obviously this would droop down. So that does have some posability concerns, you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get at. But, you know, this strap here is a really soft, rubbery plastic. So that's a good thing. I like how the joints are super hidden with this too. Like, they blend in quite a lot, the joints on his arms. And I'm actually pretty impressed with this. I'm pretty impressed with the head sculpt too. Actually, I'm curious. I sort of want to remove this and see what's underneath. See if they actually sculpted a head underneath or if it comes off at all. I don't know. Maybe I'll pop it off and peek. But, you know, again, textures. Let's talk about textures, right? There's different textures all throughout this. I love the rope around his neck, just like the movie. The textures on the thing. Even his suit, his nice dark, you know, gunmetal suit has, you know, pinstripes on it. So another texture on there. It's got, you know, the big joints, McFarlane joints right there. And he's got joints like the Joker in his foot. So they're not, you know, it's not superposable, but it looks really good coming out of the bottom of the pants. And I'm down with this. I wasn't sure if I'd be down with this, like I said before, based on past McFarlane stuff. But I actually really like this jacket. I do. I think it looks pretty cool. And this is honestly really scary, man. If this guy was in your closet at night, you would call your mama. You'd pee your pants and call your mama. And he does come with 2 hands. I stupidly assumed that these were Bane hands, but these are actually his hands. So he comes with removable hands. Changeable hands. I don't know why he does and no one else does. It doesn't make sense, but he's got different hands. And he's got nothing to do with his hands because he doesn't come with anything else. So he's got hands to do stuff with, but nothing to do with them. And he does come with Bane's arms, the last piece to make Bane whole, to take him out of the pit and break the bat. And that brings us to the Build-A-Figure himself, one of the reasons to collect all 4 figures. And I must say that his proportions are completely and totally and utterly messed up. I don't know any real person that looks like this, to be quite honest with you. His arms are too long. His waist needs to be a little bit higher. His legs are too long, and he's bow-legged, and his legs don't stay in there very good either. His head is too small. So there's 4 really good figures before this, and then this one. So, I mean, if you're a really big Bane fan, maybe get the wave and, see what you can do with this. And I mean, it looks pretty similar to the movies. The sculpt work is good. The paint work is good. The elbows are a little bit off. I hope you can tell. It's a little bit darker of a plastic on the elbows. So again, the elbows don't match. So there's just random stuff with this at McFarlane like all day long. And I don't mean to keep beating McFarlane down because McFarlane does a lot of good stuff. But there's definitely a lot of just like random stuff that just doesn't make sense. Like, why is that darker? Why are Joker's knee pads darker? You know what I mean? Why are these proportions so off? And I'll put pictures here on the screen. You could see. I'm not just making it up, right? It's good to have this. I think it'll look good in the display with everything else. But there's definitely opportunities for this for sure. He's got a lot of good sculpt work, especially on the chest. I like that. Sculpt work on the head, like we said, is really good too. Although it's too small. Like the head should just be a little bit bigger. All right, his leg keeps falling out, so I think I got it in there now. Okay, so I definitely like, the different options with the hands and everything. So there's definitely good stuff about this, but I definitely think the proportions are a little wonky. And there's definitely some mismatch quality items here, but that's it. That's Bane, the Build-A-Figure from the Dark Knight wave. Right, so that's the whole 4-figure McFarlane Toys Dark Knight Trilogy wave, Build-A-Bane wave. And there's definitely a lot of stuff to love about these figures, but they are a mixed bag, which I'm finding is typical of McFarlane Toys nowadays. There's a couple production issues, there's a couple design issues, but overall, these are figures that capture the likenesses of amazing characters from the best 3 Batman movies of all time, in my opinion, of course. So overall, I do love the wave, and if you're a fan of the movies, I would definitely recommend picking it up for sure. But if there's certain characters you love more than others, I don't think you need all 4, because the Build-A-Bane is very disappointing in my eyes. But I really hope maybe they do a series 2 of this with, Catwoman and even Alfred. I love the Michael Caine Alfred. So let me know in the comments what you think about this series. If you have them, let me know if I'm way off base with some of them. If you love them, if you hate them, let me know in the comments. Let's talk, let's chat. So guys, gals, non-binary pals, thanks for tuning in and enjoy that plastic.